Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The afternoon sun bathed the orphanage in a soft, golden light. The children's laughter echoed through the narrow corridors, but some corners remained silent, bearing witness to the secrets and sorrows each silently carried. The walls, covered with colorful drawings and messages of hope, seemed to whisper the children's forgotten dreams. That day, a shiny black car pulled up in front of the entrance. The employees exchanged intrigued glances. Few could walk through those doors with such confidence and poise. The man who stepped out wore an impeccable suit, a calm and assured air, and a subtle scent of luxury wafted behind him. In his hands, a thick, elegant envelope testified to his generosity, or at least, that's what everyone thought. He took a few steps into the lobby, observing the children who had frozen before his imposing form. The staff gave him cautious smiles and respectful nods. As he prepared to announce his presence and unveil his gift, a small cry rippled through the room, sharp and clear, cutting through the surrounding murmur. "Dad!" All eyes turned to a little girl with bright eyes, whose face expressed pure joy and unexpected relief. Without hesitation, she ran towards him, arms outstretched, and threw herself into his arms. The millionaire, frozen for a moment, felt his heart beat faster. Time seemed to stop around them, the children, the employees, even the air seemed suspended. In his eyes, she read a gratitude that only blood ties can create. In his arms, she found a presence she had always missed, even without knowing she had sought it. The millionaire, until then distant and reserved, felt an emotion that no wealth or power could buy. He had just found a daughter he didn't know he had lost. The murmurs of astonishment turned to respectful silence. The other children watched, fascinated, some moved to tears. The entire orphanage seemed to hold its breath, witnessing this moment when two lives separated by chance were finally reunited. In this simple cry, "Dad!" everything changed. And that day, the little girl and the millionaire began a journey whose intensity and magic neither of them had yet suspected. The orphanage hall was still frozen in shock from the little girl's scream. The other children shyly approached, curious and excited at the same time, whispering among themselves, "Who is this man? Why does she call him Daddy?" The millionaire, still holding the girl in his arms, felt a familiar warmth he hadn't felt in years. His voice, hesitant at first, softened. "Hello, my dear." The girl's eyes shone with emotion. She hugged him, as if his presence could erase years of loneliness. An educator stepped forward, her gaze filled with curiosity and caution. "Sir, excuse me, but are you sure?" The man smiled gently, nodded his head and replied with touching gravity. I think so. I'm his father." A stunned silence filled the room. Some children backed away, others moved closer, fascinated by the scene. The girl raised her head and whispered, "Are you really here?" The millionaire stroked his hair and replied, "Yes, I'm here. I'll never leave you alone again." The other children watched, some with admiration, others with a hint of jealousy. The employees, for their part, exchanged incredulous glances. They had never seen such a spontaneous and moving gesture. As the man knelt down to meet his daughter, he noticed the wonder in the eyes of all the children present. A sudden sense of responsibility and protection washed over him. He understood that his role was not limited to wealth or luxury, but to the presence and love he could offer this little girl, and to all those around her. "Today," he said in a firm but gentle voice, "I want this place to become even more than an orphanage. I want it to become a home, a real home for each and every one of you." The children exchanged looks of wonder, some with tears in their eyes, others jumping for joy. The little girl, still in his arms, never let go of his hand. This simple gesture sealed the beginning of a new life, full of hope and promise. And in that light-filled hall, for the first time in a long time, there was a sense of a future where wealth was no longer just material, but above all made up of warmth, connection, and newfound love. After the commotion in the lobby, the millionaire gently led his daughter into a quieter room decorated with small tables and colorful chairs, where a few children were still playing with puzzles and books. The girl, breathless but beaming, sat on his lap. "Tell me everything," he said softly. "Everything I missed." The little girl took a deep breath, her bright eyes staring into his. "My name is Emily," she began, her voice trembling. "Mom, she left when I was a baby. No one knows where she went. And I never had a dad." The millionaire felt a lump form in his throat. The lost years, the missed moments, everything came back to him with a painful yet strangely sweet intensity. "And you're here now. I'll never let you go," he whispered, gently squeezing her hands. Emily looked down, then up again, hopeful but still wary. "You promise me that you won't leave like the others?" He nodded vigorously. "I promise you. From today on, you are my daughter, and I will always be there for you." The girl smiled shyly, and a fragile but powerful bond began to form between them. For the first time in a long time, she felt protected and loved, as if her whole world could finally open up again. The millionaire then realized that this moment was far more precious than any transaction or gift. His fortune, his successes, all of that was worthless compared to this simple but priceless feeling, the happiness of finally being a father. "Tomorrow," he said with a tender smile, "we're going to do something special. I want to meet all your friends here, and together we're going to make this place even more wonderful." Emily, her eyes sparkling, nodded enthusiastically. This simple gesture, this promise, gave rise to a new confidence in her. For the first time, she knew she was no longer alone. And as the sun set, bathing the orphanage in a soft, soothing light, a new story began for them both, a story of reunion, love, and second chances. The next morning, the orphanage seemed to be filled with new energy. The children, still stunned by the millionaire's arrival and Emily's cry of "Daddy," whispered among themselves, curious to see what the day would hold for them. The millionaire entered the common room with Emily at his side. He had something special planned. Each child would receive a small, personalized gift, and most importantly, he wanted to get to know them. "Hello everyone," he said with a warm smile. "Today, I want to meet you, each and every one of you. I want to know who you are, what you like, and how we can make this place even happier for you." The children, initially shy, began to tentatively raise their hands. Some talked about their hobbies, painting, stories, soccer, or even the science experiments they were trying on their own. The millionaire listened attentively, asking questions and laughing with them, discovering their unique little personalities. A boy stood up and asked hesitantly, You're really Emily's father?" The millionaire nodded. "Yes, I'm her dad. And now I want to be a friend to each of you too." Emily looked at him proudly. She was no longer alone, and now her father was also interested in her friends, in her extended family. The morning continued with games, drawing, and laughter. The millionaire found himself forgetting his role as a simple guest or donor. Here, he was a father, a guide, and sometimes even an accomplice in their little antics. Later, he toured the rooms and noted the modest conditions. His mind lit up with ideas: new bedding, comfortable reading corners, workshops for art and music. Every detail was to make their lives more joyful and secure. "This place deserves to shine as much as you deserve," he whispered to Emily, who shook his hand gratefully. The day ended with a moment of calm. All the children sat around the millionaire, Emily on his lap, listening to a story he made up about courage and family. Laughter and whispers filled the room, creating an atmosphere of warmth and security few children had ever experienced. For the first time in a long time, the orphanage no longer felt like a mere refuge. It was becoming a real home. And for the millionaire, every smile, every burst of laughter, every little look of wonder from Emily and the other children reminded him that his most precious wealth wasn't in his bank accounts, but in the connections he was beginning to make. Night was falling on the orphanage, and the children were already in bed, lulled by the excitement of the day. Emily, however, couldn't sleep. Her eyes were still shining with the day's excitement, and she felt that her father had something to tell her. The millionaire joined her in her room, kneeling beside her bed. The soft light from the lamp cast warm shadows across their faces. Emily. He began softly, I know you're asking questions, and you have the right to know everything. The little girl nodded, hugging her blanket to her. Why weren't you here before? She whispered. His father took a deep breath, his voice shaky but firm. Years ago, your mother and we were separated by circumstances I could never control. She left, and I tried to find you, but... He looked down, his throat tight. I failed for a long time. Emily felt her heart sink, but she listened attentively. All this time, I thought about you every day. Every decision I made, every success I had, it was so that one day I could find you again and give you the life you deserved. The girl, with tears in her eyes, whispered. But now you're here, that's all that matters, isn't it? He smiled, moved. Yes, my dear. Now I'm here. I'll never leave you alone again. And together, we'll make up for lost time. Emily threw herself into his arms, feeling for the first time in her life a security and warmth she had only known in dreams. Her father held her tightly, as if to erase all the years of loneliness and doubts. Then, in a whisper, he added, Tomorrow we will begin a new chapter. But I want you to know something. What? She asked, curious despite her tears. No matter what happened before, no matter the mistakes or the losses, what matters is that we are together now. And that we are going to build something real, something solid, a real family. Emily, her eyes shining and her heart light, felt a wave of happiness wash over her. For the first time, she believed that miracles could exist. And in the stillness of the night, the millionaire promised himself never to let this chance slip away. The next morning, the orphanage awoke to an unusual bustle. Colorful decorations, balloons, and garlands illuminated every room. The employees, intrigued and surprised, watched the millionaire organize everything with contagious energy. Today, he announced with a smile, we're going to do something special. Not just for Emily, but for each of you. The children, still reeling from the day before's arrival, gathered in the courtyard. The air was thick with anticipation and curiosity. The millionaire, with the help of the teachers, had prepared several activities, a painting corner, sports games, a mini science workshop, and even a space for creating short stories or songs. Emily, arm in arm with her father, proudly showed the facilities to the other children. Look, she exclaimed. Daddy has done everything for us. The children jumped into the activities, laughing and shouting with joy. The millionaire joined them, playing with them, giving advice, and sometimes getting carried away by their energy. For him, these simple moments were far more precious than any business meeting or investment. At noon, a spectacular snack awaited the children, cakes, fruit, fresh juice, and little surprises for everyone. The millionaire stood up and addressed everyone. I know life hasn't always been easy for you, but I want this place to become a home where everyone can dream and be happy. And you, my dear friends, are at the heart of it all. A respectful silence followed, then erupted into cheers. The children ran around him, some pulling his hand to show off their creations or share their ideas. Emily, however, never let go of him for a single second. Later that day, he toured the orphanage, noting every detail that needed improvement, more comfortable rooms, bright reading corners, workshops for artistic or athletic talents. He knew he couldn't change these children's past, but he could offer them a present filled with warmth, security, and hope. Late in the afternoon, as the sun began to set, he took Emily in his arms and whispered. You see, my dear, it's not just your dream we're making come true, it's the dream of all these children. And it's thanks to you that I remember what's really important. Emily smiled, her eyes shining. Thank you, Dad, thank you for being here. And as the golden evening light enveloped the orphanage, a sense of magic and renewal hung in the air. For the first time in a long time, everyone felt they belonged, loved, and protected. And the millionaire, gazing at the happy faces, knew he had just begun an adventure far more precious than all his fortunes, that of a family reunited. The next morning, the orphanage had returned to its usual calm, but a new energy was in the air. The children busied themselves around the new facilities and played with the enthusiasm of a festive day. Emily, faithful to her role as little guide, led her father to the different areas to show him their creations and favorite spots. The millionaire marveled at everyone's imagination and talent. He noticed a boy who was passionate about building, assembling blocks with incredible precision, and a girl who drew true works of art. He began to think, why not create a program where every child could develop their talents, learn, and fully flourish? Emily, he said softly, tomorrow I want us to start creating something special. A place where each of your friends can follow their dreams and feel proud of themselves. Emily nodded, her eyes shining with excitement. Yes. We could have a reading corner, a painting studio, and even a small laboratory for experiments. The millionaire smiled and took her hand. Together, they walked the halls, discussing the children's ideas and needs. He listened carefully to every suggestion, taking notes, and promising to make their dreams come true. Then he turned to Emily and added, "You know, this isn't just a project for the orphanage, it's our adventure, your family and me. We're going to build something beautiful, together." Emily, moved, snuggled up to him. She felt that, for the first time in her life, her father was not just a distant figure, but a real, attentive, and loving presence. In the afternoon, the millionaire invited each child to spend some time with him individually. Some spoke of their dreams, others of their fears, and he listened to them all with patience and kindness. He discovered unique personalities, hidden talents, and moving stories. Every smile and every word brought him closer to the family he had long sought. As the day drew to a close, he took Emily by the hand and led her into the garden. The sky was painted with warm colors, and a sense of serenity reigned over the orphanage. "You know, darling," he whispered, "every child here deserves to have someone who believes in them. And I believe in all of you." Emily smiled and hugged him. "Thanks, Dad, you make everything better." And in that moment, in the soft evening light, the millionaire knew this was only the beginning. The laughter, dreams, and stories of these children would soon transform the orphanage into a real home, and he himself would discover a wealth far greater than anything he had ever known, love and family. The next morning, the orphanage was abuzz. The children, now accustomed to the millionaire's presence, seemed ready to test his limits, but not maliciously, just out of curiosity and a desire to play. Emily, ever faithful to her role as guide, led him into the playroom, where a little organized chaos reigned. Blocks were scattered, drawings covered the tables, and several children were trying to show off their talents to their new dad. "Dad! Look what I built," exclaimed a boy, holding up a half-collapsed castle of blocks. The millionaire burst out laughing, picking up some fallen coins and putting them back in place. "Impressive. But I think we can make it even stronger." Suddenly, another child dropped a bucket of paint onto the freshly washed carpet. The colorful splashes splattered the walls and floor, causing a mixture of screams and peals of laughter. The millionaire, instead of getting angry, knelt down, picked up a rag, and said, "Well, looks like we need a little more space in the paint shop." The children laughed out loud, admiring her patience and good humor. Emily, amused, added, "Dad, you really are the best." After the creative chaos, the millionaire decided to take a short break in the garden with Emily. She told him about her friends, their fears, and their little tricks to make life here more fun. "You know, Dad," she said, "some children never believe that an adult could really be interested in them. But you listen, you laugh with us, and that makes us happy." The millionaire looked at her, his heart filled with emotion. "Thank you, my dear. It's thanks to you and all your friends that I'm discovering what happiness really is." Later that day, he held a small talent show. The children sang, danced, told stories, and showed off their creations. The millionaire clapped, laughed, and encouraged everyone, amazed by their creativity and joie de vivre. At the end of the day, as the sun slowly set, Emily snuggled up to him and whispered, "Dad, I think we can really make this place a real home." He nodded, his eyes shining. "Yes, my dear. Together, nothing is impossible. And as the orphanage drifted off into a peaceful calm, the millionaire realized that every challenge, every burst of laughter, and every colorful little disaster brought this budding family a little closer together, gradually transforming the orphanage into a place where love and joy were finally at the center of everything. As the weeks passed, the orphanage changed every day under the millionaire's leadership. The children participated in every step, sharing their ideas to transform their daily lives. Emily, always at his side, became a true little guide, proud to show her father how their suggestions were coming to life. The millionaire had begun setting up permanent workshops, a reading corner filled with colorful cushions and books of all kinds, an art space with easels and paints, and even a small laboratory for children passionate about experiments and science. Each child had their own personal space where they could develop their talents and express their creativity. But it wasn't just about amenities. The millionaire wanted to create a real sense of community and family. He organized communal meals where everyone participated, storytelling evenings where each child could tell a story, and even small, friendly competitions that brought the children closer together. One afternoon, he invited several trusted adults, former teachers, artists, and volunteers, to share their knowledge and time with the children. The orphanage gradually transformed into a vibrant place, where every smile and laugh seemed to multiply the positive energy of the place. Emily, sitting on her father's lap during a planning meeting, whispered, "Dad, look, all my friends are happy. They feel important." He hugged her, moved. "Yes, my dear. And you know why? Because you showed me that home isn't just a place, it's about connections, love, and trust." That evening, after a day filled with games, laughter, and projects, the millionaire took a moment to look out at the orphanage from his office window. He saw the children running and playing, the teacher smiling, and Emily running toward him, shouting, "Dad! Look what we've done." He smiled, his heart filled with pride and gratitude. For the first time, he understood that his true wealth was not in his bank accounts, but in this house full of life, love, and laughter. And in that soft evening light, he knew this was only the beginning. The orphanage was no longer just a refuge for children, it had become a real home, a community, and above all a place where every child could dream big, knowing they had a family that believed in them. One morning, the millionaire announced to the children that he had prepared an exceptional surprise. The news spread quickly throughout the orphanage, excited laughter and questions arose from all sides. "What is it?" asked a boy, his eyes shining. "Are we going on a trip?" added a little girl, hopping impatiently. The millionaire smiled, keeping a little mystery. "Patience, you'll see. But I promise you that this day will be magical." A few hours later, a bus decorated with bright colors and drawings made by the children was waiting for them in front of the orphanage. Everyone's eyes lit up when they saw that every detail had been thought of with them in mind. Emily, clutching her father's hand, couldn't contain her excitement. "Dad, it's incredible." The bus took them to a large amusement park temporarily reserved for them. Rides, game stalls, craft workshops, and even a small stage for performances awaited the children. The millionaire had thought of everything, including personalized snacks and souvenirs for each one. During the day, the children laughed out loud, enjoyed the rides, and proudly showed off their talents on stage. The millionaire, at their side, laughed with them, sometimes taking them in his arms to calm them down or share a moment of complicity. Emily, standing on the stage with some friends, gave a little shout. "Dad! Look what we're doing." He looked at her with tears of happiness in his eyes. "I see, my dear, and I'm so proud of you all." At the end of the day, he gathered all the children around him. "Today, I wanted to show you that you deserve to dream big and experience extraordinary moments. But remember, the most precious thing is not the surprise, nor the gifts, it's this family that we have here, all together." The children huddled around him and Emily, their faces lit up with emotion. Even the teachers, touched by the millionaire's generosity and thoughtfulness, could not hold back their tears. As the sun set on that unforgettable day, the orphanage still echoed with laughter and joy. The millionaire understood that every effort, every smile shared, Every bond formed with these children was far more precious than anything his fortune could buy. And in that moment, he knew his life had found its true meaning, to offer love, security, and happiness to those who needed it most, and to build with them a family that no wealth could ever replace. In the following months, the orphanage was completely transformed. Every corner now told a story of creativity, happiness, and human warmth. The children thrived, playing, learning, and dreaming without fear or loneliness. Laughter and joyful voices filled every room, and the millionaire, always by their side, participated in every activity with patience and love. Emily, more confident and radiant than ever, grew up in the security and affection of her newfound father. Together, they began to create traditions, special days, talent workshops, and even small performances where each child could shine. One afternoon, as the sun bathed the garden in a soft light, the millionaire sat on a bench with Emily on his knees. "Dad," she said with a smile, "thank you for coming back into my life. Thank you for everything." He hugged her, his eyes shining with emotion. "My darling, you're the one who made my life complete. Thanks to you, I now know what it means to be a family, and I've never been happier." The children walked around them, sharing their new creations and laughter. The millionaire watched this scene and realized that true wealth was not in bank accounts, nor in luxury houses or cars, but in those simple, sincere, and full-of-life moments. The orphanage was no longer just a refuge for abandoned children, it had become a home where everyone could dream, learn, and thrive, surrounded by warmth, love, and support. And as the sky blazed with warm colors at dusk, Emily looked up at her father and whispered, "Dad, this is the best day of my life." The millionaire smiled, his heart filled with gratitude. "For me too, my dear. For me too." And in that perfect moment, he knew that their story, which began with a simple encounter in an orphanage hall, had just found its true meaning, love rediscovered, family reunited, and a bright future where everyone could dream and flourish.